Last week I was recording a mentoring show with Jonathan, and I realized when we ran ng-serve to rebuild the Angular application, it didn't produce any files. So that meant there were no up-to-date files for the node server we'd built to serve them. Rather than figure out a way to get those files, I suggested we just fire up the Angular server and the node server side by side and have the Angular page make a call to the API function we added to the node server. That went kind of like this. Why did that not work? Alright, Jonathan, why did that not work? Oh, wait a minute, here we go. What did we get? Unknown error, URL, HTTP error response. Has been blocked by cross-origin. Okay, so that says, hey, you're trying to hit another site, and that site has not said it's okay to be hit from anybody at another server. We're going to have to figure that out real quick. That should just take a second. Yeah, the sound in my voice there, that's deep understanding of the problem. Anyway, I knew enough to know that CORS is part browser and part server. So if we made sure that the server said it was okay to call the function, then the browser could call it. And that worked. However, I feel like I should just take a minute to explain what went wrong there, just in case you ever run into it, and what you can do about it. CORS is complicated enough to be intimidating because it's related to security, and pages like this one on MDN and this other one over at Wikipedia explain it, but not a big picture of it. They go into a lot of the details. So I'm going to try a little bit of the bigger picture if I can. It all starts with the URLs themselves, effectively the origins. What triggered CORS in the first place was that our Angular app, which was running on localhost port 4200, tried to make a call to our node server running on localhost port 3000. That port difference was enough to trigger it, because in trying to protect you, your browser says that any server that has a different protocol, that's this part at the front that says things like HTTP or HTTPS, a different host, or a different port from the one you were on, any of those differences, then it should be treated differently. It says that you are at one origin and that the one you are calling is another origin, hence the name Cross-Origin Resource Sharing, or CORS. What the browser absolutely doesn't want is for you to be able to get a web page from site A and have it include JavaScript that says, go call the APIs of this bank over here. For any of my users who use that bank, and who logged in recently, I'll transfer some of their money into my account. Insert evil laugh here. By ensuring that you cannot make that call to another origin, your browser helps protect you from that. It's not perfect. That's why cross-site request forgery is still a thing, but it helps. But those restrictions on API calls actually predate CORS and are part of the same origin policy. If anything, CORS relaxes it, because there are APIs out there which are harmless. If I want to be able to call some API to find out what the temperature is in Sao Paulo, that's not something I should be restricted from doing. So you, on your own API, can specify using CORS that any site may call you. Or if you decide to separate your API out from your website, let's say you've got an api.mywebsite.com and a www.mywebsite.com. You can specify on the API website that the only one you want connecting to you is www.mywebsite.com. You do that by adding something to the headers which are in the response from your server. You'll set the value access, control, allow, origin, and set it to star or to a specific domain. If you do the latter, if you specify a specific domain, or a subset of domains, the browser can even send cookies to the API, something that's normally restricted in this case. There are a few other ways to work around this problem, but if you ever trigger CORS while you're building or testing an application, I hope this has given you some idea of what happened, why, and what you can do about it. The next time Jonathan and I get together to work on the site, we'll avoid this problem by building the Angular app in a different way and only using the node server for everything. So that's how we'll solve that going forward, and we'll actually remove the CORS library I installed in order to not allow API usage from other sites. In fact, if you go and check out the repository that Jonathan and I have been updating as we've been mentoring together, that particular repository has already been updated with the changes I'm describing, along with a little bit of a README now to help explain how to pull the code and start it all up. I'll provide links to both of the 2 descriptions of CORS I mentioned earlier, as well as a great article I like from Bartosz Skuczynski in the show notes for this video. In it, he outlines what you can do about a CORS problem, and he looks at it from the standpoint of whether you control the client, control the server, or if you control both. And he also asks the question, and it's a good one, are you trying to call someone's API from the browser, which was never meant to be called from the browser, only from other servers? Even if you don't read this article right now, you might save off a link to it, or you might save off a link to this video for later use. Thank you, as always, so much for listening. Please like and subscribe, and if you want, click that bell up in the corner to be notified whenever new videos come out. Thank you so much, and if you enjoyed this, please tell your friends. Bye-bye.